Today we're going to be sharing a backyard tour. This is what we're most known for. Here's our tree house. This is like our little chaos garden. I know a lot of you guys have an issue with people painting wooden things white, so that's kind of my plan. Maybe grab a snack. We'll get through it all together. Hello everybody, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm so excited to share with you guys a spring backyard tour. We did take a little break off of posting for the month of April. We were just busy. We were not doing stuff with the house. We were just living life. So we took a month off and now we are back. It is spring. The backyard is looking beautiful. So I'm so excited to share it with you guys. Now everything's just starting to grow back. So if you want to see what everything looks like in full bloom, we will share another garden tour later in the year. Although we do have one from July already on our YouTube channel. So I will link that if you want to watch that too. But starting over with the grassy area, we're gonna skip the pool area today just because it's a bit of a mess still since we haven't opened our pool for the season. So this will just focus on the grass and the gardens. I think this video is gonna be a little chaotic and it might be a long one. So maybe grab a snack and we'll get through it all together. So let's start on our tour. We're gonna start over here with our gardens. Now, bearing in mind, we haven't mulched anything yet. Like, this is still very fresh in the season. Weeds are growing, nothing's mulched, but this is what it looks like in the spring. We put all of the gardens in ourselves. So as a reminder, when we moved here in 2020, it was just like a field of grass. There was nothing really growing except for these little bushes over here. Everything else we put in ourselves, and this is about 3 years of work. This is our third year of it, right?
Yeah.
Third year of working on it because in the first year in 2020, we didn't do anything to the backyard. So in 2021, we restored the pool, we put in the fire pit, we put in the vegetable garden, and a few gardens, which sounds like a lot saying it out loud, but that's kind of where we started. So this is 3 years of work. So there's more to come and I'm excited to share. I'm gonna talk to you guys about what our plans are for the rest of this backyard. But over here, just a simple garden. It does need to be revamped. We want to reshape this year, add in some taller things. We do have grasses growing along the back, but it just needs help. So all the iris and everything was from our front yard. Actually, I think pretty much everything in this garden was from our front yard from the last owner. Yeah, I think so. The chain link fence is another eyesore. I don't love the chain link fence, but I like keeping the pool fenced in because it's nice to have somewhere to put the dogs when we need to just kind of put them away and not let them have free range of the backyard. Or also for all of the animals we get in the yard. If you guys have been keeping up with our socials, you might already know we have an issue with deer right now. So the last thing I would ever want is for a deer to end up in the pool, or really any animal. I just don't want anyone getting hurt in the pool. So it's nice to have it fenced off, but it would be nice to do something a little prettier than chain link, but whatever. That's on the back burner for now because we have our work cut out for us back here. Over in this area, we added in this garden in September or October. It was the last thing we did in 2023. The idea was just to have it as like a little seating area, but we did it quickly with whatever was already at the house. We weren't trying to spend money on this kind of a project. The thing is, when you have a yard that's this big, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and spend a lot of money on stuff, and we just try to keep costs low. We really have to budget. So when it comes to the backyard, we try to reuse a lot of materials we already have. So that's where this flagstone came to be. But we did add in this little garden area. The tree obviously was already here, but we planted tulips. Now, a lot of our tulips have been eaten. I think we planted almost 500 tulips, and I would guess that maybe 100 of them, maybe not even that much, will be up this year. But honestly, whatever, at least the deer are fed. Same thing over here. We've got some grasses. We did roses along the front. It's gonna look really beautiful. I can't wait to see it because, like I said, we did this at the end of the season, so we haven't really seen it in full bloom yet. This whole garden area is my little bird area because I feed all the birds here. We have tenants living in this birdhouse here, finally. I've had it for a couple of years and nobody wanted to move in until now. And then like this birdhouse was here from the previous owner. The birds love this area and I love that I can watch them from in the house, so it's perfect. Over here I've got this big, hairy weed, but he is the most beautiful flower in the garden, so I don't mind. This is my dog, Ackley. If you guys don't already know, Aspenackley, our username, is because of our dogs. So this one's Ackley, and the one over here chewing on her feet or bugs is Aspen. Yeah, that's a good girl. Aspen doesn't participate as much in our videos. She's just a little bit more of a free spirit and does her own thing. She doesn't enjoy family fire nights the way Ackley does, so that's why you never see her at the fire pit with us in any of our videos or really anywhere. But Ackley is my shadow, so he will come with me everywhere I go, and you guys will see that in this video, I'm sure. We thought this was a rose. I think this is a weed. Let me know in the comments. I'm sure some of you know. What the heck is this thing? Because it gets berries on it. I don't think it's ever, no, I think it does bloom flowers.
Little pink roses.
Little pink, I don't think they're roses. I think it's a weed that we're just nurturing. But along here, we planted some lilacs in 2 years ago now. They're all leaning sideways, which is just kind of funny. We should really try and straighten them out, but honestly, it's whatever. The lilacs are gonna spread and they'll fill in themselves, but it is funny that they're all leaning to the right. Looking at the yard from this angle, this is the part that I wanna turn into like a little secret garden. Now, if you've been following for a while, you probably already know that we usually do sunflowers all along here. And I started doing that in 2021, but by now, a couple years later, I don't want to do them here again just because I want something a little more permanent for privacy. I love my sunflowers and I'll do them somewhere else down the fence, but right here, it just doesn't make sense to not have something all year around. Since we spend so much time here, we're always filming our house this direction. I just don't want, you know, it's not fair to the neighbors to have their house always appearing. So I want to do something a little more permanent, maybe cedars, maybe, I don't know. We have to be mindful about this area because we are on septic, so our septic, what's the word? Diffuses. The leaching field for our septic is right here, so we have to be mindful about whatever we plant. It can't have deep roots because it can't come into contact with the septic. Andrew loves to remind me of this every time I throw out an idea. He's like, we have a septic field. This here is a beautiful lilac. When we moved in, like right after we moved in, Andrew cut it down because, what did you think it was?
It was leaning completely that way.
It was leaning this way.
And we were setting up the chain link.
And we were setting up the chain link. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so he cut it down and look how beautiful it is and it smells incredible. And I think it was also growing into this tree here.
It was huge.
It was huge
like
and
half dead and stuff.
Yeah, he says it was huge and half dead, but I love it now. I'm so glad that it came back. We've got other things growing here, hydrangeas and Russian sage and Andrew's Japanese maple. That is his pride and joy. We've moved this from the front yard into the backyard so that he can get a closer eye on his Japanese maple. We've got a few tulips coming up, a little pop of color. I love how this is looking. So this is like our little chaos garden. When I was saying how there was nothing in the yard except the bushes, it was these bushes. So we put all this in ourselves. A lot of the plants we brought with us from our old house, we dug them up and brought them because we just have our old house has such a special place in our heart. So we brought them with us. And then a lot of them came from the front of the house. The previous owner's wife had a real green thumb. So in the front yard, there was tons of plants. So we salvaged those and brought them back here so we could keep a closer eye on them and fill in our gardens. And when this space fills in the summer, it is gorgeous. It's full of bees. It's just like the most beautiful spot in the backyard. It doesn't look like much right now, but it will. My little bird bath. This is a solar fountain. If you don't have a solar fountain yet, what are you doing? I'll have it linked in the description of this video. Wait, the sun just went away, so it's kind of, there we go. It does pump funny when the sun goes away, but when the sun comes out, it's continuous. Now it does come with a couple different attachments that just like spew the water everywhere. So I keep it, yeah, just like that, without the attachment on it. The birds love it. And this bird bath also came with the house. So I'm glad that we're able to use it. The birds love it. They love this whole area. I love caring for the birds, although being a bird mom is kind of an expensive hobby because of how much money we spend on bird seed. But I just love them. I can't help it.
Like 30 bucks a week.
Yeah, Andrew says it's like 30 bucks a week we spend on bird seed, but they love it. Same with like right here, my little bird birdhouse. I need to refill. Everything is empty, but that's the solar bird feeder from Amazon. So I'll link that one too. They just love it, and I love the birds right back. Again, everything filled in. I planted daisies from seed and what else? Daisies, hostas, roses, phlox, lilies, peonies. In fact, these peonies, another special place in our heart. They came from the old house, and our old house was this cute little 2-bedroom, and it had a beautiful garden that had become overgrown because the owner passed away. And so one day we were out there doing yard work before we even had a green thumb. We were just like interested in gardening, but we didn't know much about it. And then we saw these, learned that they were peonies, had never seen them bloom because they were so overgrown, like everything was covering them. They couldn't even see the sun. And we brought them here and they bloomed for the first time in the spring. And it was just so beautiful. This part in the summer, it looks so gorgeous, and I can't wait for you guys to see what it looks like filled in. I know it doesn't look like much right now. One thing about this area though is we get a lot of snakes. Just garden snakes, nothing serious, but the dogs do like to track down the snakes. Over here is what I like to call my Barbie garden, because in the summer, she's pink and beautiful. We put it in the summer. One thing we love to do is buy plants at the end of season or nearing the end of season because everything's usually discounted. So when it came to this garden, I don't think we paid full price for anything. You guys always ask about affording plants and how much things have cost. A lot of the plants, we get them on sale, or we're able to divvy up existing plants and then replant those, like hostas, for example. I don't think we'll ever have to buy a hosta again because you just cut the ones you already have in half and then you get 2 plants out of 1. So when it came to this garden, a lot of the stuff was already on sale. So I don't remember how much it cost, but probably the hydrangeas were the most expensive part. These are strawberry vanilla hydrangeas. We've got some bee balm, we've got heucheras, lavender, I don't even know. You'll have to see it when it grows in because it's so stunning. But again, all of the tulips in this garden got eaten, but it would have been a real sight because I did all pink tulips in here to go with the Barbie theme. So maybe next year. The greenhouse was a project we made over in March of this year. So we built it in 2021, stained the whole thing brown, and the stain just did not hold up well. I know a lot of you guys have an issue with people painting wooden things white, but one thing I don't want to do on our page is make somebody feel bad for doing something in their own house that they're excited about. So like, I wanted a white greenhouse. We built the greenhouse ourselves. We stained it ourselves. I'm gonna paint it white. So I painted it white and I love it. I have no regrets. I think it's beautiful, especially already getting into the warmer weather when we're getting color in the green of the plants and the grass and everything. I think it already looks great, but it's gonna look even better. Like we need to put topiaries in the planters. And then what I wanna do is dig out this whole area to here and then do raised bed, raised bed, raised bed, raised bed, and then raised bed, raised bed, raised bed. And then I want to do a little white fence around the whole thing and all flowers. Andrew has heard my plan many times for that, but everything costs money and we have other things to pay for. So I think all we'll get to this year is probably adding a few raised beds for my flowers because I've got them all started in the greenhouse, but wouldn't it be stunning? Just imagine it, all the color of the flowers, and I just can't wait. We got a noisy wind chime over here, so let's go see this. So over here we have some cedar raised beds that we built last year and the year before. This big one's actually built out of our old deck. If you remember that project, we were able to reuse the deck boards for that. And my tulips have started blooming in it. They look beautiful, although these ones are disappearing every single night. So you guys shared a lot of advice about what to do regarding the deer. I did try the Irish Spring soap. It didn't help. We sprayed with the smelly stuff that smells like a fart. Spray that all along the back and they still came back. So my husband has been gracious enough to pee there and it does seem to be helping, but they're still disappearing every night. A different tulip is gone. So I am just enjoying them while they're here. They don't last long anyway, but I wish they lasted longer. So like I said, this area is going to be cut flowers. I want to do a few more raised beds here. And I do think we need to figure out an alternative to the mulch because black mulch looks good only for so long, and then you have to replace it every year, and replacing your mulch is very expensive. So I don't know, we'll need to figure something out for that. I have a vision for here. I love it already, but it's gonna be better. We just finished building this cedar arch. It was for a project we did with Rona, and it's gonna have my pumpkins growing up it. I think I'm gonna do it on both sides. Heading over here, we have the start of landscaping our fence. We just did cedars all the way along here. This is about 40 feet of cedars. I think it's around 13 cedars. And then we're gonna be doing hydrangeas along here because it doesn't get full sun. It's like part sun, part shade for the day. So we're gonna do hydrangeas, and then we have about 250 feet of fencing to continue landscaping. So that'll come later this year. It's gonna be a long task because, as you can see, our property is not level, but we're thinking about doing armor stone to kind of raise it up and then level it out. That's why our fence steps the way it does, is because our property is like whoosh. So that'll come later this year. Anything else we should say about that? Okay, let's go over to the vegetable garden. So over here is our vegetable garden, our 2021 project. We have expanded onto the vegetable garden every single year. So it started off as just the garden, just the build, and then we landscaped a little bit, and then we expanded over into the pine tree and added a cute little like fairy pathway. Again, everything we put in ourselves. Bleeding hearts are also from the old house, and if the tulips grew, we get beautiful light yellow tulips that like pop in with the bleeding hearts, and they just look so good. Andrew says this bleeding heart was actually one bleeding heart, and then he split it into two, and now we have two of them. So that's just one of the ways that we like to save money. You guys also always ask about weed barriers and how we maintain the weeds. The answer is we usually just pull the weeds as we see them. Now, we're adding more gardens every day, so it is a lot of work to maintain the weeds. However, we don't work 9-to-5 jobs. What you guys are seeing right now is what we do. So we spend a lot of time at home, and we have the ability to keep up with the weeds. So it works for now, and I know that wouldn't work for everybody when we were working full-time at jobs. I know this is a job, but it's like, this is not the same kind of job. I worked in healthcare. Andrew worked in carpentry. He still is a carpenter, but like we were out of the house all day long. So maintaining all these gardens just wouldn't have been possible, but we have the free time now to do that. So I know it's not realistic for everybody, but that's just the way we do it. We planted 2 climbing roses on either side of the vegetable garden when we built it, and they are just growing like weeds. I'd clean them up in the fall, and then I cleaned them up again maybe a month ago, and I can't wait to see what it looks like this year, because last year they had the most beautiful pink blooms on them. It was just so beautiful. I can't wait to see it this year. This would have been really pretty, but every single one except for one got eaten, so this one is thriving. That's okay. It is what it is. There's not much to see in the vegetable garden right now, but maybe somebody will find this video helpful. This is our vegetable garden. The raised beds are built out of pine, so they will need to be replaced probably next year. They're starting to rot, but they still do the trick. And like I said, at the time when we built this, we did not have a budget for, spending on really high quality cedar or like something that's gonna last long term. We bought all of our pine from a local sawmill, and so we built the raised beds. They've served us well. They've given us tons of vegetables over the years, but I do think that they're gonna need replacing very soon. Again, everything in here, we built it ourselves, and I love my vegetable garden. It has served us so well. This year I'm gonna do something different on the arbor. I always grow beans on here, but it's nice to switch up your raised bed. So I've got peas growing in the back. I'm using a piece of Schluter Curdy board to cover the carrots, and lettuce, tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, everything like that. I've got carrots already coming up in here that I planted in the fall, so they've stayed in over the winter, and then strawberries. Andrew and I planted that first year, and they're just multiplying every single year. So I know there's not much to see in the vegetable garden right now, but like I said, if you guys come back later in the year, it's gonna be flourishing. Also, if you guys are interested, we do sell the plans for the vegetable garden on our website. We sell for the vegetable garden, our fire pit, a raised bed, There's a couple different plans up there. So if you guys are interested in recreating it, the plans are available for download on the website. And as always, if you guys buy the plans and you ever need a hand or have a question about them, or you're stumped, send us an email and we're happy to help. But yeah, I think that that's pretty much the vegetable garden. We're gonna continue our tour. Let's go over here before we head over to the fire pit. So over here, we planted raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries when we moved here. We didn't have the most knowledge of gardening. Over the years, we've learned a lot, but we were young and just starting out. So we planted raspberries pretty close to blueberries, and then the raspberries spread, which we just didn't know. You learn as you go sometimes. So we have a lot of raspberries, we have the blackberries, and a tiny little blueberry bush that we definitely need to move. But oh my God, it does have a blueberry on it. Ooh. Sorry. In hindsight, I wish we didn't plant raspberries here because obviously look at them. Like they just grow crazy. Andrew's suggesting moving them into a raised bed somewhere else, which I love the idea of. You just kind of need to contain raspberries, and we didn't know that at the time. Back behind the vegetable garden, you'll see more of our cedars. We planted these cedars last year. So I forgot to tell you, the cedars are from Landscape Direct, which is an online garden center. All of these cedars we planted at the same time. Now, they are a little close together, but they all lived. Every single cedar survived. We do have them on a little irrigation system, so they get water. And that's really important with cedars. You need to keep them well watered. But every single cedar survived, which is really impressive. If you buy cedars, a lot of the times, especially at this height from a local hardware store or whatever, the root balls on them are very small. So their likelihood of survival is lower versus like Landscape Direct, which has giant root balls. Now, Landscape Direct did gift us the cedars, but this is all 100% my own thoughts. I think that they are so worth the money. They are beautiful, and as long as you have well-draining soil and you keep them moist, I think that your success rate is going to be very high.
Several cedars. So the 4 at the pool.
Wait. Andrew's saying behind the camera that we did plant cedars from elsewhere in 2021, and all of them died except for 1 or 2. 3?
5 out of 8 died.
5 out of 8 died, he says, and they weren't the Landscape Direct ones. That's a good boy. This is my beautiful weed. And heading over to the main attraction, which is our fire pit. We built the fire pit in 2021. Now it does need another coat of mulch on here. Andrew was edging the gardens recently, so he digs down deep with the edger, and then we fill it all in with mulch to help keep a divide between the grass and the mulch. It definitely needs another coat of mulch. We also planted tulips all in here, and again, they got eaten. There are a few survivors though, so we'll see what happens. This is what we're most known for, is this project. It was our 2021 build, and I still love it so much. Again, the plans for this fire pit are available on our website. I love seeing your recreations. You guys always send us photos of your fire pit recreations and videos. You tag us in your videos, and it's so fun to see. I'm glad that you guys love it as much as we do. Again, if you guys need any help with the build process, send us a message through email. Send us a message through email, and we're happy to help. But it's pretty straightforward. It's a good beginner project, even though it might not look like it. It's really not that hard to build. The retaining wall bricks we got off Facebook Marketplace. The pea gravel, we buy all our pea gravel from a local landscape supplier, so it's cheaper than buying it in bags from like Home Depot. We built the bench last year. You guys give us a hard time about this bench, saying that it needs back support, but we have spent many nights out here, and not once do I think about how I wish I had back support, because we usually end up laying on it, or I like sitting cross-legged. If you guys build this, you could put a back on your own bench. I do think this year we're gonna add cushions to it though. That would be a fun project, and one of you guys suggested that, so I think we will do that. I want to switch out the hanging chairs actually for a 2-person hanging egg chair, because Ackley loves to lay in the egg chair, so I want to be able to cuddle him. So that's kind of my plan, but they are expensive, so I'm trying to find one for a good price. So if you guys find one, send it to me. I just think that that would be better, so I can cuddle my dog in the egg chair. I also have my feet pavers. A lot of you were weirded out about my feet pavers, but listen, my grandma had feet pavers in her garden, and as a kid I thought it was the coolest thing ever. They were right at the start of her garden, and then they led into the yard. And then on Marketplace, I saw somebody selling feet pavers. So I bought some for me and some for my mom so she could put them in her garden. And I forgot to mention, in the vegetable garden, there's a sign that says Grandpa's Garden. That was my grandfather was a big gardener too. They both have passed away now, but they were very prominent figures in my life growing up. So I was able to have the Grandpa's Garden sign to watch over my garden now. And I have my grandma's feet pavers. I love it. One thing about me also is if there's decor that looks like my dog, I'm gonna buy it. So this is the newest addition. It's my Ackley bird bath, and both dogs do use it as a drinking bowl. We also cut down a tree in our yard a couple years ago, and we saved the stumps to use as like end tables at the fire pit, which I thought was so cute. I actually stole that idea from my best friend. Taylor did that at his house, so I copied the idea. Let's head over here to one of the other newer gardens. We put this in last summer. All the plants in this were from Landscape Direct. We're very fortunate we get to work with Landscape Direct. They supplied all of the plants we would need for this, and it's a whole range of things. Now, we planted this tree and it is thriving. It is a ivory silk lilac. It gets to be 6 meters tall, so I think that that'll be nice. One thing we kind of struggled with when we moved here was the lack of mature trees. I know I talk about our old house a lot, but it just meant a lot to us. Our old house had lots of mature trees in the yard. It was a much smaller property than what this is, but having all the trees was just something we really loved. So we've been trying to add in bigger trees and just like more vertical accents to combat how much grass we have. Adding this tree was really great. And then when this garden fills in as well, it's going to be beautiful. The bees already love this garden too. There's so many nice things in here for them. Daisies and delphiniums and heucheras and coneflowers, rose of Sharon, lavender. There's so many things. But again, this will be the first year we get to really see this in bloom because we just planted it nearing the end of last season. Along the back here is our dig-free fence. This is by Peak Products. Now this was actually the fencing we used for our pumpkin patch, but we've used it to close off our backyard so that the dogs could be roaming without us having to be out here with them all winter long. It looks a little wonky right now, but I can't recommend this product enough. If you are interested in a fencing where you don't have to set the post in concrete, this is a really good alternative. It comes with a spike and you basically set that into the ground and then install the post on top of it. And I love it. You don't have to get this style either. Somebody pointed out that it kind of looked like a pumpkin cemetery when I first set it in place, and I can't unsee that. They have a whole bunch of options. I'll link them in the description, but they're really great and you can get all their products at Home Depot. This is the rest of our yard. Now this is a bit of a chaotic mess. I don't want to focus too much on it, but I do think I need to point it out because right now we've been throwing our garden cuttings and stuff like that back here. Before we moved here, this area was used as essentially a landfill, which is really unfortunate. All the garbage from renovations before we moved here were dumped back here. So it wasn't their problem at the time, but then it became our problem. So now here we are, several years later, still trying to dig out some of the garbage that got buried back here, which is just really sad because it looks out onto a forest. We get a lot of wildlife, and to think that it was just kind of used as a dumping ground is a little frustrating. But we're doing our best to clean it up. But everything that's kind of growing here now is just from using the tractor and cleaning out the gardens. One day it'll be really nice, but we did plant a ton of wildflowers and native flowers back here. So we'll see what comes up this year. So this is the view from the rest of the yard from the back. Now our property keeps going, but this is just how much we use for landscaping and things like that. One thing I do want to do, my vision, and you guys can let me know what you think. Like I said, we're going to landscape along here, and I think we're going to get armor stone to kind of raise it up. But how beautiful would it be to make this a whole pathway that runs all the way across from the driveway all the way to the arbor, which leads to our treehouse, and make it a whole pathway and like fill it in with tall, beautiful things and flowers and trees, and that's like a separate pathway that leads all the way to the treehouse. That's what I want to do. And I picture lights and lanterns and something really whimsical and fun. I love doing those kind of things in our garden, as you guys can probably tell. One thing about me is I love grandmother chic when it comes to the garden. I love the little decorations and I love the lights and all of the little fountains. I think it makes the garden so special. So that's kind of what I want to do right here. A really long pathway. Let's head down to the treehouse. So this pathway leads to our treehouse. It's really overgrown right now. We built this in winter 2022. It's a little crazy right now. We get garlic mustard growing very bad back here. However, this was such a fun project. Andrew and I did this whole thing in the dead of winter, like hauling all the material down to our treehouse. It sits about 6 feet up and it's the style of 2 posts, 1 tree. So the tree on the other side is basically holding the tree house up, and then we have posts here holding the deck up. I'll take you guys inside so you can see it. So here's our tree house. I love our tree house. It smells so good in here. I wish you guys could smell it. It just has such a, like, I can't even explain what the treehouse smells like. It just smells good. A lot of love went into this project. We used to spend every like Tuesday night down at the treehouse right after we built it. We would come down and we'd pack like an overnight bag and sleep in the treehouse, and it's so relaxing. The whole thing fills in with leaves when it's peak season, and we get a lot of deer and foxes and things like that growing down here, or not growing, hanging out down here. All this talk of landscaping has me thinking about growing things. The ladder leads to the loft up top. It has a tree branch chandelier that I used from a tree branch, and I have battery operated lights that are strung around the window and around this big window, which was like $500 on Facebook Marketplace. Maybe not even that much for the window, but pretty much everything in here was bought secondhand, or we had it from past projects. Like the window on the front was from our bedroom. We actually replaced the window in our bedroom with the patio sliding door, so we were able to use it on the treehouse. One thing I do wish we did differently though was I wish we did a Murphy bed in here instead of a regular bed, because it just takes up a lot of space. It's not bad, but just takes up a lot of space. My cousin did do her maternity photos in here when she was pregnant, and they turned out very, very cute. So I want to do some revamping in the treehouse. It's always an afterthought for us these days because we have a lot of other stuff going on. I don't know, I have some ideas, but we'll see what happens. One thing I do want to point out though is the artwork. One of our followers sent us drawings she did. So the treehouse, and then she did one of our kiddos. And it says, "You can tell by the kindness of a dog how a human should be." And I just love it. Yeah. Everything in here is also like Amazon. So I'll link everything that you guys have seen in this video. I'll link it in the description. Let's go up top and I'll film you an outro. I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. That pretty much concludes the garden tour. Come back in the summer if you want to see what everything looks like in bloom, but it is nice to see everything coming out of dormancy and, you know, a little pop of color to our otherwise very green yard. I want this video to serve as a reminder for you that with a little bit of time and effort, you can make it into something special. Sometimes I even think about all the things I still want to do back here and it overwhelms me, but this is just 3 years of work. I want to thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you have enjoyed, and we will see you guys next Sunday for another new video. Bye!